And welcome to this Board of Directors meeting of Tampa Bay Water for Monday, March 18th. We have a quorum of board members present. The meeting was noticed in the Florida Administrative Register and on the Tampa Bay Water website. The meeting is available for viewing through live streaming, and a recording of the meeting will be posted on the agency's website. At this time, I'd like to ask our most immediate former chair, Commissioner Eggers, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let the record reflect that Vice Chair Hanowitz and Commissioner Oakley will not be in attendance at today's meeting. And at this time, I'd like to ask for a roll call just to determine who's here.
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Councilmember Hanowitz? Commissioner Eggers?
Here.
Mayor Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Mariano? Chairman Miranda?
Here.
Commissioner Oakley? Commissioner Scott?
Here.
Commissioner Wastel?
Here.
Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. And before we open the regular meeting, we'd like to welcome Kelly Fernandez, our new General Counsel. We're glad to have you with us this morning.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And thank you for joining us. At this time, let me ask, are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to move right on to public comment. We have 3 minutes allotted per speaker, and we have 2 speakers this morning. The first is Mr. Mark Clutho.
Mark Clutho, Largo. You have this water conservation proclamation. That's kind of a joke. And then your regional water supplies member demands. So you have your plants out around this building that require water, and you're mutilating those. How wise is that? Oh. So some headlines. Carbon capture. Why is Hillsborough County looking into it? So what do I see? Gas hogs out in the parking lot. Yeah, and going to capture the carbon. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. And then the headline reads, could the Gulf Stream be near a tipping point? If the conveyor belt of warm water known as the Gulf Stream end, what happens to the climate? Not pretty. And then here's this neat graph. Yeah, 2023 shattered records to become the hottest year. Yeah, and I told you idiots here at the Water Board, you better make a high-performance passive solar building. This is what was going to happen. And it was claimed to be a daylit building. Yeah, how's the daylighting looking here? What a joke. Yeah, and it's still pretty cold. I see you're all wearing your coats. What a bunch of morons. Yeah. So you buy the air conditioning, you get you cooled because you're wearing coats. Stupid idiots. What more can be said? So pathetic. A legacy you're leaving. Dummies.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Ballard Geddes Jr.
Good morning, David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live at 802 Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Based on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife National Wetland Inventory, residential lawn irrigation, our sprinkler system qualifies our property as an artificially excavated, intermittently inundated riparian wetland. As delineated, our sprinkler system satisfies the requirements defined as a palustrine wetland system, in effect, delineating our lawn as a palustrine wetland. Based on statute 153.03, section 5, the reclaimed water variance application is being used to claim third-party eminent domain development rights, taking both our personal and our real property. As defined, the eminent domain of such wetland is being legislated in a recent House Bill, House Bill 527. The recently legislated House Bill 527 bases itself on Statute 373.421. Statute 373.421 uses such wetland methodology to allow third-party entities to develop an equitable interest in our property and to have power of third-party eminent domain development capabilities through an interagency agreement in reference to the Interlocal Cooperation Act of 1969 in Statute 163.01, taking title to our property and carpetbagging us using Chapter 159 of the Florida State Statutes. In effect, the government comprehensively is using an interagency quid pro quo agreement to internally transfer political function and power reflective of Section 2.04Q of Pinellas County Home Rule Charter, and to privatize government reflective of Executive Order 12803, claiming eminent domain of everything we own in an attempt to give rise to despotic water jurisdictions, again under the 14th Amendment, and to reconstitute such political usurpation process in government in Statute 373.715, based on the deliberate desecration and aggregate of the water supply to include the criminal aspect of the SHARP and the TAP program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to our consent agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to pull anything from consent?
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and in just a moment, we'll ask for your vote. There we go.
Commissioner Scott, we do need your vote, please. Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on now to our regular agenda. Our first item is the general manager's report. But before I go to Mr. Cardin, I believe we have a legislative update from Mr. Matthew Blair, who should be on the line.
No, he's actually.
Oh, excuse me.
Can you believe it?
There you are. Wow. Live in person.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it's great to see you. Thanks for the time. Legislative session did wrap up last Friday, as you're well aware. I'm here on behalf of our firm and Pete Dunbar as well with his team. As you have in your packet, you should have a report from Pete and his team on policy issues. And so I would direct your attention to that for review. Just a reminder on process, once those bills that may be in that packet end up being sent to the governor, and as you'll remember, the legislature phases the sending of those to the governor. He'll have 15 days to act on those individual bills. And then once signed into law, obviously that will become effective based on the effective date on the bill. It's the staff's typical process to do an analysis of that toward the middle of the summer once those bills' effective date do become active, and provide that. And I believe Kelly, your general counsel, will do that analysis and provide that update if there is any impact in that regard. So that's process-wise on policy. From a funding perspective, wanted to share with you, Tampa Bay Water did receive $1 million in funding on their legislative ask this year. A little bit of context on the budget this year. Of the water projects that were funded, there were about $650 million in water projects that were asked for that were funded. There was a number of other projects that didn't receive funding at all. And so most projects that were funded at 50% or less. Some of the higher dollar ones like ours were funded at a substantially reduced rate. The legislature, and I think we talked about this over the last meeting or so, the legislature has, over the last 2 years, spent about $2.5 billion in appropriations member project request funding. And they returned this year, they wanted to return to a more normalized about $500 million in funding and sought to do so. So it was a tighter budget year, even though the state is doing very well from an appropriations request perspective, member project request perspective. It was tighter allocation than has been the case. Individually, you've probably talked with members of your delegation in your other capacities, and you may have heard similar feedback as well. So happy to answer any questions if there are any. However, that's the report. Again, $1 million in funding on the project that Tampa Bay Water requested.
Commissioner Akers.
Just real quick, FDOT, what was their budget like this year? I mean, I'm thinking about infrastructure commitment, right? So do you have a sense of were they up, down, about the same?
Yeah, as a total budget, Commissioner, I'm not certain where their number ended. So I don't have that off the top of my head. They were at a high point last year, a historic high point. I can tell you that broadly on capital projects, we saw a move legislatively away from what had been real capital heavy expenditures over the last couple of years. I'll give you a couple of examples and not specific to DOT. As an example, the state university system uses funding. The Board of Governors is the overarching body that determines capital projects and what they're going to recommend to the legislature. The last couple of years, the legislature has completely bought that entire list. They've paid for every capital project requested. This year, they did not do that. We saw in the budget on capital projects a move away from higher dollar capital projects and more toward programmatic dollars that were frankly lower dollar asks, $500,000, $250,000, $750,000 asks. And again, we just view that as it's easier to be able to disperse a finite amount of resources over a broader set if you're doing that with far lower dollar requests as opposed to what tends to be a higher dollar when it's a capital project request.
Okay, just wondering about the again, ongoing commitment to infrastructure that needs it badly, doesn't end in 2 years. So I just wanted to get what their take was. Clearly, water needs a lot of money, as do our roads, and so I just was curious where they might have gone instead of focusing on the infrastructure. So
water ended up about $350 million as a total pot. Just as an awareness, they were over $17.5 billion last year in transportation. And forgive me, I just don't have that number. I'm happy to provide it to Chuck and Michelle as the total DOT work program allocation today, so that you've got that as well.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Cardin, I think I'll turn it over to you now.
Oh, thank you, Chair. And my report, I would like to start off just talking about our fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. We are close to completing the draft, and I know our finance staff is scheduling meetings with the members throughout the rest of this month. The schedule is to bring it back in April for a workshop, so it'll be your first look at it in April, but we will be meeting with your staffs in the next couple of weeks. Also, I did want to send out a reminder on this Friday coming up, the Florida Humanities Council is going to be featuring our documentary Lightning in a Bottle. It'll be held at the St. Pete History Museum Friday night between 6 and 8. And Councilmember Hanowitz will be on the panel as well after the viewing of it. And so there is a website that is posted. I sent an email to everybody. You do have to register and print the tickets, but hope to see you all there. Just as a side note, that date is also World Water Day on Friday. I mentioned in my report the agency investments and our financial statements. I'm scheduling next month for Christina Sackett, our CFO, to do a presentation with how are we doing. We'll be 6 months into the year, and we'll also show some of the investments in our policy to let you know. Also, for foreshadowing some debt service coming up, we had some questions about debt service, and we have shown the board in the past what are our CIPs looking like and how are we funding it. So that's coming up in April. Also, wanted to mention the Development Alternatives Program, give you an update on that. In November, the board approved the 2023 Master Water Plan update, and that included the 7 projects that are going to go into the feasibility stage, and Ms. Medina is prepping that right now to start. But the Development Alternative is also going to be holding a kickoff meeting on April 1st with all of the members. And just to give you a refresher, the Development Alternatives include projects that may need more sophisticated technologies. They need longer term analysis and study, and also maybe permitting. They're not quite permittable. So one of those categories is the availability of reclaimed water. So we will be studying that starting with a kickoff meeting with all the members on April 1st. Also, this week we're sending out mailing to citizens that live near the reservoir, and we do this every year. It's informing them of the emergency action plan that we have, and we're also encouraging them to sign up for the Hillsborough County Emergency Alert System. And then finally, I'd like to show you, it's one picture, but there's four in photos in here. This is our desal plant. In the top left is the plant before work started. It was approved to start at January 30th is when we got the approval. And you can see there all the racks all intact there. And then as you see the other 3 photos, various stages, and I'll describe what you're seeing. Moving right over to the top right, they're moving along, taking out racks 1, 2, and that's what you see there. And also in the bottom left, that's the finished removal of those racks, racks 1 and 2. And we're also doing racks 4. Those are the first 3 trains that will be coming online October 4th. I'm looking at the contract. He's shaking his head, yes. That'll be 12 million gallons a day, and the remainder will be by the end of the year. So this is just some photos of how we're doing. They're doing very well. But I also will be bringing that team up to show us an in-depth report next month with more photos and describing some of the work efforts in more detail. And I'd just like to talk about some of our outreach we did last month. You can see here on March 1st, we helped keep Pinellas beautiful with our kickoff of the Great American Cleanup at the Leaders Against Litter event on Gandy Beach. And it brought together local leaders, elected officials, and volunteers to pledge to keep our community clean. And you can see here Vice Chairman Hanowitz, she spoke at the event about the importance of our partnership with Keep Pinellas Beautiful and protecting our drinking water sources. We also participated in the American Water Works Association, the Florida Section Region 4, past and future panel discussion on lightning in the bottle. So myself, Warren Hogg, and Michelle Robinson, who owns Dialogue Public Relations, we had an interactive discussion with the water professionals about our history and our future. Also, we had visitors from the city of Corpus Christi. They toured the seawater desal plant. They are, like other utilities throughout the country, they are looking at us to help them sharing lessons learned and some of our successes. They are trying to add a seawater desalination plant to their portfolio in Corpus Christi, about a 30 million gallon a day plant. And finally, Tampa Bay Water staff participated in a virtual roundtable discussion for the Hispanic Professional Women's Association's mentorship program. Maribel Medina is our planning and projects director, along with Ileana Lara, who is our senior professional engineer 4, and Michelle Viali, who is a laboratory scientist 2. They shared their STEM career experiences with mentees of this program. And with that, I think Warren will give you an update on our status, for our demands and our current conditions.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Morning.
I would like to give you an update this morning on where we stand with our supplies and conditions. The Tampa Bay area has received about normal rainfall since November. So that puts us on a good course that we hadn't seen for a while. And we've received about 1.83 inches of rain so far for the month of March, hopefully with more today and more on Friday. And we can always hope for more next week as well. We do continue to receive regular rainfall, but our annual spring dry season is right around the corner. That usually takes effect by the end of March or sometime at the beginning of April. The rainfall we've received in the last few months has helped to reduce the drought conditions that's persisted across our region for many months. However, Pinellas and coastal southern Hillsborough County still remain in an abnormally dry condition, so we haven't come out of the dry conditions yet. The rainfall has also helped to sustain river flows and to reduce demands.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Question on that graph. You've just got the highlighted part right in the Tampa area. Is the rest of everyone else is normal? Or is it just not showing?
Everything else that's white is in a normal or no drought condition state. So only the little bit of yellow along our coastal region is the abnormally dry.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. The Tampa Bay region does remain in a stage 1 water shortage, but we have seen improvement in the past month. The 12-month rainfall deficit was 5.4 inches, and the average Hillsborough River flow deficit was 4.4 million gallons a day at the end of February. To put this in a little bit of context, to trigger the next stage, the stage 2, which would be the drought warning, we would have to have a rainfall deficit of greater than 5 inches or below the pink line on the top graph, which we've had since the month of September. And we have to have a flow deficit of at least 10 million gallons per day, which we were very close to that from October through January. So we were right on the edge of moving into phase 2, but we did not. To give you the flip side of that, to come out of the stage 1 into a neutral condition, the rainfall deficit has to completely go away, so there's no deficit or a surplus, and the flow deficit has to be no more than -5. So we're already there on the flow deficit. We're minus 4.4 million gallons a day. The rainfall, though, hopefully by this summer, we can come out of this condition with good summer rainfall. So the end will hopefully be in sight. For the first 5 months of the fiscal year, Tampa Bay Water delivered an average of 197.81 million gallons a day. This is about 6.2% higher than what we delivered the first 5 months of last year. And it's right at our budget projection, which is 197.7 million gallons a day for the current year. We did have very high demands in October and early November, but since that time, we've had cooler, wetter weather, and watering restrictions went into place. And all of that has helped reduce regional demands by about 33 million gallons per day. There's 2 regional conditions that we are managing for the remainder of the fiscal year. The first is the regional reservoir. The storage volume was 7.27 billion gallons as of last night, which is about 47% full. The graph shows the 2 pieces of information. The orange is where we projected the reservoir storage volume to be at each month, and we had projected to be somewhere around 9 to 10 billion gallons at this point. The blue shading each month is the actual storage volume at the end of the month. I would like to point out we were using water from the reservoir to meet demands and sustain the consolidated permit pumping limit. We were seeing a very steady decrease in reservoir storage. However, we've seen a noticeable improvement with the rainfall and the reduction in demands in the months of January and March to date. We started January 1st at 7.3 billion gallons stored. Last night, we were 7.27. So we've managed to manage the system, take water from the rivers to meet demands, and also to put water back in the reservoir. So this is how we've been managing our way through the drought conditions very effectively. Much better condition than we were in. The consolidated water use permit has a permit limit of 90 million gallons per day, which is shown in the green line. The red bars are the actual pumping rate, the average monthly rate from October of 22 through February. And the one yellow bar is what we had projected for the month of March. The blue line is the 12-month running average. That's how the Water Management District judges compliance with our permit. And we've been very close to our permit limit. As I mentioned, we've been using water stored in the reservoir to manage this condition and meet demands. And I would like to highlight something that's positive. The demand for the month of March, we had projected to be around 89 million gallons a day from the well field. The running average would actually slightly decline if we can meet that target. So that's a bit of good news. We're not out of the woods yet. Like last month, I'll show a couple different scenarios, the path that we're on, and also what happens if it gets hot and dry and we lose participation in watering restrictions from the public.
Mr. Chairman, question?
Yes.
So what we take out of the reservoir does not count towards the 12-month running average?
That is correct. The reservoir storage is there for us to use. It's our savings account.
Right.
What only counts here is what we take from these 10 well fields.
Okay. And nor the rivers, that doesn't count towards
No,
it?
this is only the average rate from the 10 well fields only is counted against this.
Okay, thank you.
Based on where we are today, the pumping rate through September of this year, the end of our fiscal year, we're managing that to stay below the 90 million gallon per day limit. We still need to receive our regular rainfall, even though it's less in the next couple months, and persistent conservation messaging from the members, Tampa Bay Water and the district, and the news media. It's making a big difference, and the restrictions and the enforcement of those really make a big difference in bringing regional demands down.
Warren, let me ask you, can you quantify the difference that you think the conservation efforts and the 1 day a week watering actually make as a, say, percent?
At the moment, the data isn't precise enough. We know what's been reduced, but what was due to cooler, wetter weather, what was due to the conservation enforcement, we can't tell that yet. In retrospect, we could look back at actual billing data and try to tease out some of those numbers per account. What did someone use in 1 year versus the next? That'll come a little bit later.
Anyone else?
The Water Management District last month did extend the 1 day a week outdoor watering restriction through July 1st. And they've also issued an emergency order for us to take additional water from the Alafai River. And that's also been helpful because we've been able to harvest additional water from that river safely to either use at the surface water treatment plant or to add storage to our reservoir. All of that works together to help us maintain compliance with our permit. This is what the consolidated permit could look like without the consistent rainfall and without the persistent conservation messaging and enforcement. Under this worst-case scenario, the 12-month average pumping rate could increase above our 90 MGD permit limit. Again, I'd like to make clear we're not going to run out of water, but if we have to take more from the well fields, it could cause us to go over a permit limit. The months of May and June are the 2 months that become very close to our permit limit or exceed in this scenario. But the exceedance that you see in the month of June is about 1 million gallon per day higher than our 90 limit. When I stood before you last month, that exceedance potential was 3 million a day. So we're seeing great progress in managing our system and getting a lot of participation from the public. We thank you for your efforts in helping with that. I'll wrap up my part of the comments with an update on the South Central Hillsborough water supply and demand conditions. The demands in South Hillsborough County have been steadily increasing for a number of years, but very sharply in the past year. The purple part of the graph, the line, shows the 12-month average demand, and it increased pretty rapidly in the last calendar year. The graph shows how we deliver water to South Hillsborough. The bottom part of each bar is what we deliver from the region to Lithia treatment plant. The yellow part of the bar is what we have delivered to the central point of connection, and the top part, the dark blue bar, is what came from the South Central Hillsborough well field. The average demand is 58.2 million gallons per day at the end of February, and that's up about 5 million a day from the past February. But the 12-month running average is beginning to decline a bit. It's about a half an MGD less than it was last month. I would also like to call out the 3 bars on the right-hand side of the graph. These are very low demand and production numbers, and that stems from the cooler, wetter weather and wholesale participation by the public in the conservation efforts and watching their days. This is similar to the graph I showed on the consolidated permit well fields, but this one pertains only to the South Central Hillsborough well field. The pumping rate from the well field is shown in red. It's the actual data. And the yellow bars show what we project could happen for the rest of the fiscal year. Our permit limit is currently 24.95 million gallons a day, and our running average is shown in blue. We were at 27.35 million gallons a day at the end of February, above our permit limit. And we would consider this to the future state to be our worst case scenario. The higher numbers that you see in the spring, the projections, those don't include the conservation measures. They don't include additional water that we could send to the service area through our newly completed Brandon booster station. But even with this, we start to see a decline in the 12-month average rate as we go towards September. However, if we can achieve some additional savings in demand from water conservation, these bars come down, and that starts to show a significant improvement in the blue line, which is our running average. If this scenario were to take place, conservation messaging, enforcement, and us delivering additional water through the new Brandon booster station, we could be approaching our permit limit later this year. That would be very welcome news. Continue to work with Hillsborough County, exploring all of the infrastructure and supply conditions, and working with all of your staffs on the conservation messaging. At this point, I would like to turn the presentation over to Brandon Moore to talk about the water conservation and outreach efforts.
Good morning, board members. So in October, the regional rainfall deficit triggered the Stage 1 drought alert according to our water shortage mitigation plan. And this plan is in place so we can take proactive measures, raise awareness of the need to conserve water, and ultimately lower water demands. So in collaboration with member governments and the Water Management District, we're using a mix of publicity, paid advertisements, and social media to raise awareness of once per week watering and promote specific measures that homeowners can take to reduce water use. And just keep in mind that Tampa Bay Water takes a regional umbrella approach to the communication while members communicate directly with their residents to enforce local watering restrictions. And your utility and communications staff have done a really good job through messaging with utility bills, emails, mailers, social media, HOA outreach, and some of their own advertising and publicity efforts. So first I'll cover our publicity efforts with news media. So last October, we got the word out. We got the word out quickly to the news media and earned coverage on every major news outlet in our region. We continued efforts since then and have earned additional coverage throughout the drought, including providing 10 specific ways that residents can save water, most importantly, knowing and sticking to your watering day. So we'll continue to work with reporters and meteorologists throughout the spring dry season to reinforce these messages. So in the coordinated effort, your communications staff and district communications staff have also done a great job with news media efforts. And altogether, we've earned 210 media mentions, 954 million impressions, and nearly $9 million in ad equivalent placement, which is how much we would have had to spend in advertising to reach that many people. So this awareness we think is paying off as we've been able to manage demands with some help of cooler temperatures and getting the much needed rain. So for our advertising efforts, we're using a mix of outdoor, broadcast, and digital ads. We have NPR hosts reading PSAs on air during peak listening times, and we're running 5 billboards regionally, 1 in Pasco County, 1 in Pinellas County, and 3 in southern Hillsborough County. Our digital advertising includes tile and banner display ads on meta platforms, such as Facebook and Instagram, but it also includes banner ads on weather websites and apps. And what's unique about these ads is that we automatically display custom ads based on weather forecasts. So, for example, when it's 50% or greater in the forecast for rain, we run messages to turn off your sprinklers and skip a week of watering. When residents do this, they can save 1,500 to 2,500 gallons in just one irrigation cycle. So altogether, our ads have generated more than 5 million impressions so far. And we and our members and the district continue to use social media to increase awareness and engage residents on how they can save water inside and outside the home. But as Warren mentioned, as the driest months of the year approach, we're going to expand the campaign to hopefully reach additional audiences. We began ads on the neighborhood app Nextdoor. And then we're also working on streaming video ads to run on YouTube videos and connected TV programming. We'll also use these videos to run on government access TV, as Commissioner Mariano suggested at the last board meeting. We followed up with Pasco TV and coordinated that placement. So what we can do is also coordinate with the counties, other counties as well. We already coordinate with them on programming, so we can send those ads when they're complete. And finally, we'll appear on WFLA daytime shows, beginning with a segment on Bloom at the end of the month. So that concludes the update, and Warren or Chuck and I are here to answer any questions.
Commissioner Wustel.
I have a question on page 23 of this PowerPoint slide. I just wanted to know how much Mr. Hogg paid to be the only one with his mouth closed on the still.
Well, he gets enough, I think, at the.
Okay.
I got the answer. We had to pay them.
Let me just say, I think you guys have been doing a great job with this. I know our folks in Hillsborough County have been doing a great job with this too, because the word really has gotten out. From Warren's discussion earlier, it's very clear that these next few months are really critical. And so we just need to, I think, double down on getting the message out as much as possible, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will do it.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to move on now. We have one action item. It is the Water Conservation Month proclamation, very timely, and we'll also get an update on the Tampa Bay Water Wise program, and Amelia Brown is here with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is sort of a dual item. The first part is an action item regarding the proclamation about April as Water Conservation Month, followed by an update on our conservation activities. For the last 25 years, April has been declared as Water Conservation Month throughout Florida. This effort is coordinated by the Florida section of the American Water Works Association, the Water Management Districts, and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The intent of this proclamation is to generate public awareness during the driest season of Florida about the need for water conservation. Tampa Bay Water has adopted this proclamation many times in the past, and we do so alongside our member governments. Therefore, staff recommends adoption of the proclamation that April is Water Conservation Month.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for adoption of the proclamation declaring Water Conservation Month.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I did not hear who seconded the motion.
Mr. Miranda.
Thank you. Commissioner Eggers, we need your vote, please.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, and in keeping with the theme of talking about water conservation, I'm providing an update on Tampa Bay Water Wise, which is our regional water conservation rebate program, which is very much a partnership between our member governments and Tampa Bay Water. We meet monthly to discuss the program and guide its development, and the Southwest Florida Water Management District co-funds this program. This is an image of the water savings of the program to date since it launched, almost to the day, 4 years ago. So in total, we have saved 430,759 gallons per day across all the regions over the last 4 years. You can see from the pie chart that the largest slice of the pie is achieved by the city of Tampa, and that's because this is where we have done the largest number of multifamily projects, which are really driving the water savings of our program. This image shows our water savings to date this fiscal year, and we're at about 117,000 gallons per day. As I said, the majority of these savings are coming from our multifamily projects, which are represented by the blue bars on the bottom of this column. Our customizable rebate on the very bottom is how we're making the rebate payments for outdoor irrigation-related conservation, as well as shower heads and aerators. And the two blue bars above that represent the toilet rebates in the multifamily sector. Above that are the water savings from homeowner programs. So our minimum target for the year is to hit 150,000 gallons per day. We're confident we're going to exceed that number. And our high target is 380,000 gallons per day. At the end of the year, we do an analysis of billing data. So we see what we have actually saved, not just assumed savings. And so we will know better closer to the end of the year how close we get to that 380,000. Historically, the multifamily projects have generated more water than we anticipated, so we're looking forward to a nice bump at the end of the year. And since these multifamily projects are so important to the program, I'm providing a snapshot here of the projects that we've completed so far this year. 8 projects have been completed and paid out, and these properties are diverse. It's apartment complexes, but also student housing, condominium, and senior living facilities as well. And what's not shown on the slide is the long list of projects that aren't in construction phase yet, but maybe they've been through the pre-inspection phase. And that pipeline of projects, if you will, is what's going to help continue the projects and the water savings that we're achieving in this sector. And the water savings are great for our program. They are also great for the property owners. This is an image of just one of the properties where we did a retrofit, and you can see the water usage before the installation compared with the water usage after. It's a 68% reduction in water use. Across all of our projects, 50% is probably typical for most properties, but it does depend on the type of fixtures in place before the retrofit and the types of fixtures installed afterwards. I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about some of our outreach, because this is really what fuels all of these, the rebate activity. We have outreach managers that were hired by EGIA. EGIA is our third-party rebate administrator, and they manage the marketing. And having that person, the manager, to do the work, to work with property owners in the non-residential sector has been very important to this program, to bringing in more projects. In addition, the working group adopted rebates that really have been well received by the multifamily sector, and we believe this combination has created sort of a powerful dynamic to achieve more savings in the multifamily sector. We recently added a second outreach manager to achieve more of these savings in the commercial, industrial, and institutional sectors.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I can make a suggestion. I'm glad to see the multifamily is going good. I know there's plenty of opportunities in Pasco too. This letter mailing campaign, we've talked about doing this as well. And being that you've got that arm already working on it, I know with Pasco County Utilities, there's a ton of people we can mail to. So without having to spend extra money on the postage, if we could even get those letters, we could put them in our bills and kind of coordinate that way. And I think all, I remember utility governments should really take a look at doing the same thing.
Absolutely. We welcome the members to include a bill stuffer. This letter mailing campaign was specific to homeowners who are eligible for the free smart irrigation controller, which is not every homeowner. So we had a very specific list. And we have seen a very good response rate, particularly in Hillsborough County, from this effort so far. And we have been working with Pasco County. They sent emails to customers, and they're interested in maybe doing the letter as well.
Yeah, I see David Allen over there typing feverishly. Thanks.
And lastly, staff have been making presentations to Tampa's Community Redevelopment Agency meetings across Tampa as a way to just let those stakeholders know about the program offerings for the multifamily, residential, and business owners. Part of our strategy has been partnering with industry organizations like the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, the Bay Area Apartment Association, and the Hillsborough County Hotel and Motel Association, to name a few. EGIA has also been developing a video ad for streaming TV networks, for Hulu, Netflix, those types of platforms, and these can certainly be shared with member governments through their channels. We've also expanded our presence in the Home Depot and Lowe's stores. So we've been tabling at those stores, which gives us an opportunity to interact directly with contractors as well as regular shoppers. And we've started doing staff training. So we're training the managers at these stores about our program so they have a deeper understanding about what it's all about. We're always running digital ads and social media, and there are numerous opportunities for members to help get the word out directly to their customers, whether it's through sharing social media, bill stuffers, letters, and emails. And we are very grateful to all the members. We rely on them to help get the word out, and they've been very helpful with all the support that they provide in guiding the program and getting the word out to their customers. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Westall.
You said that you've historically underestimated the impact of multifamily. Do you have specific variables you attribute that to?
Our best guess is that there's a high level of leakage in toilets. In apartment buildings in particular, residents don't always take the time to notify management that there's a leak, or they don't really care because they don't directly pay for the bill. Or it could just be excessive use, but it's probably a combination of old fixtures that haven't been maintained, is our best guess.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Eggers.
Just a numbers person, so I want to make sure I understand that our goal this year is 150 at the minimum, 380 I see where we are year to date. Is that number already included in the regional savings on the previous slide of 430,000?
Yes, it is.
So it's a moving average that hopefully keeps increasing.
Yeah, it's a cumulative total for the program savings, that 430 every day gets a little bigger. Same thing with our annual water savings.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are going to move on. We have two presentations this morning. The first is from the city of Newport Richey, our regular local government update.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Hey, my name is Colin Eichmiller. I'm with the City of Newport Richey Public Works Department. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director there. So what I'd like to go over this morning is our current utility system. So we have a potable water system overview that I'll be presenting, a sanitary sewer system, the reclaimed water that we have at our wastewater treatment plant, and our current and future utility projects. So our main source would be from our Starkey well field at our water treatment plant with an average of 5.56 million gallons per day. 3.57 of that is going to be going to our city customers, and 1.9 is committed to our regional system. That's selling it out to Pasco County and other local regions. The 154.87 miles of potable water mains is currently what we have in use, with 17,975 active service connections throughout the city. The projected increases over the next few years in our service area will be mostly due to the construction for the Newport Corners out there on Little Road. We're looking at an additional 331 connections in that area. Our wastewater treatment plant currently averages 5.5 million gallons per day total flow. And we have a total of 76 lift stations throughout the city of Newport Richey in our service area, 29.82 miles of sanitary sewer and force mains throughout our system, and 87 miles of gravity sewer lines, with a total of 14,888 service connections throughout our service area. The projected increases in the service area, again, will be due to the construction on Newport Corners. That'll be off the Little Road, and again, 331 additional connections. Our reclamation facility, which is also at our wastewater treatment plant, is capable of 5 to 5.5 million gallons per day of reclaimed water distributed, and that's 21.7 miles of reclaimed transmission lines, 17.27 miles of distribution lines, and a total of 496 service connections. So our current utility projects, and this is kind of the more interesting stuff here. We have potable and reclaimed water extensions throughout the city. Most recently, we finished up a project on River Road, installing a new reclaim system there, and we're adding additional services every day at the homeowner's request. We have a smart meter replacement project, installing the AMI meters throughout the city's service area. Currently have about 5,000 units. My last update was 5,102 total replacements, and the driving force behind this project was to ensure that to gain on our water loss data, and each homeowner has the opportunity to review their bill and their water usage as we swap out these meters, and we can get with them and review where we think they may have leaks coming from, whether it's their toilet or a leaky fixture somewhere throughout the house. So it's given us a great opportunity to get ahead of that and ensure that we are tackling those issues alongside the homeowners. It also gives us the opportunity to review our service lines and ensure that we're following within the compliance of the lead and copper. NPR and Pasco interconnect upgrades, we're constantly working on that. We're at a 20,000 year-over-year expenditure on that one. Our sewer system utility improvements would include our lining project, which you can see down there at the bottom. We've lined nearly 4,000 linear feet total this year, and we're looking at, over the next fiscal year, looking at another 4,300 linear feet. All right, so our upcoming projects, we have the Town and Country Leisure Lane sewer extension. This is an area servicing 115 total parcels, and we're looking at about 3,400 feet of sanitary sewer lines being installed, and this is to transition homeowners from septic to sewer connections. Our potable water and reclaimed water system improvements, this would be anything like the 7,800 total feet of water utility that we're planning on renovating over the next 5 years. This will be anything swapping out from AC line pipes to our old galvanized system and going to an updated water utility system. And same thing for our reclaimed water. We'll also be revamping that entire system. Many of the older utility lines throughout our system will be updated with new valves and new service lines. Our sewer utility improvements are going to include the revamping of our Maplewood lift station. That project is set to commence in 2024, and we're looking at rebuilding 3 total lift stations throughout the city across the next 5 years. Again, the sewer main and manhole lining projects, we're currently underway and will continue over the next 5 years, and we're looking at doing approximately 4,000 feet per year. Those expenditures in total come to $60 million over the next 5 years to ensure that we are updating our system every year and maintaining every bit of infrastructure we can. And last, before we go to questions, I wanted to add that, and I didn't have that in the presentation, is we are currently reviewing our wastewater treatment plant. It's about due for renovations at this time, so we're going through updating our Schreiber tank, ensuring that our grit system is being revamped and updated, and all the lines are being replaced throughout there. And we're reviewing, we currently have a task order out reviewing upgrading some of our systems throughout there. So with all that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Yeah, Commissioner Eggers.
I just had one, and my utility director will probably kill me for this, but I'm just trying to educate while I have somebody who can do that. You have an old meter and you're replacing it with a smart meter.
Correct.
So if there's leaks, could the old meter not detect the leaks versus the new meter being able to detect the leaks? First question. The second one is, I'm getting calls from people that say, with my new meter, my water bill's a lot higher, or and what might be happening here? I'm just curious.
Okay. Yeah. So the old meters were not registering total water usage. So we've tested about 60 meters coming out of our system. It's kind of a rudimentary test, running 5 gallons through it and then calculating total read through the meter. And we've had several of those meters come back registering no water usage. We've had others that have come back reading perfectly fine, but the idea is when, and these two things are correlated. So when someone's meter is inaccurate or it's not reading, the impeller inside's not quite flowing or not quite calculating the total water usage, what will end up happening is the homeowner will get a lower bill. And if they have a leak throughout the house, they're not likely to spot that leak, because what they see time over time is that they're only using X amount of gallons. And once we swap in the new meter that is calculating that water accurately and reading it accurately, we can review that with the homeowner. And when they call and they say, hey, my bill's gone up X amount of dollars, why is this happening? We can sit down with them and review their total water usage, and they can look at that themselves and make that readout where they say, okay, I don't think I'm using this, X amount of gallons per day. There might be an issue, and we can review that with them and say, okay, well, let's take a look at your toilet damper and all these other items.
So you're putting new meters in is a responsible act by government.
Correct.
To make sure that we're doing our job, our end of it, which is that meters that read correctly.
Yes, sir.
The second part is, now that you're doing that, you could be finding some leaks that weren't otherwise identifiable.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that, what percentage would you say of the homes that were, in general, would you be dealing with that? 5% of the homes that we have meters that haven't been working properly? 50%? I just wonder how many calls I'm going to be getting as we put in our new meters over the next few months. So
I think if my billing and collections clerk was here, he could probably give you a better understanding as to how many phone calls he would get a day. I don't get to review nearly as many of those as I'm sure he does.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What do you expect the lifespan of these new meters to be?
We've been given a 15-year on them.
15-year?
As a minimum.
Have you had any failure rates, any failures of the new ones that you've installed?
None thus far.
Okay. Is there a way to remotely check their performance?
I would have to
I
get.
guess, how would you check their performance?
What we've gotten thus far has been data collection into our billing and collections clerk. Anytime we've had readout issues, we're automatically updated in the system. We're notified from that antenna to let us know that there's a problem with the readout. And so what ends up happening is he'll go back out. And most of the time, it's just an issue with reprogramming or a programming error that was done incorrectly upon the install. And he can adjust that almost in real time.
How the meters that have been coming out, the old ones, typically, what is their age?
On their lifespan?
Yeah.
Those, from what I understand, and I'm going to be kind of speaking off the cuff on this, is anywhere from 10 to 25.
10 to 25. Okay. So 15 with the new ones is sort of average, what the old ones would have been?
Correct.
For the most part? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Westall?
Thank you. Is there anyone from our staff that could further opine as to what approximate percentage these old meters might have been? Yeah, you have to, it seems like a revelation, so I want to understand how long we've been potentially undercharging for our utility system, the impacts it might have, et cetera.
Lisa Ray, Director of Water Resources, Hillsborough County. So we are completing the same project. We have been working on it for several years now. We have considerably more meters. We have over 300,000. So at this point, we have replaced over 50,000 meters. The way we're currently doing it is based on the age of the meters that are in the ground. So the area we're currently working on is in Carrollwood and the Northdale area, which is in the northwest. And we have meters that are 30 years old. So those meters generally run about 10% slow because, as you were talking about, as they get older, the impellers turn slower and slower, and so they're not capturing it. It is a big undertaking. It is a big capital project. And in fact, I was just talking to my staff last week. We really need to put together a capital update and share it with the board and with administration, as well as get this up on our website about the program that we are doing. As we have new developments going in, they are automatically getting the new AMI meters, so which that obviously is a large number of meters going into our South County area. Did that answer your question or not?
No, but I'll follow up privately. But
okay.
Thank you both very much.
So are you looking for a total percentage of water loss or revenue loss across faulty meters that are old and in the ground? Is that what you're kind of reviewing?
Well, now that's what I'm going to be trying to figure out for Hillsborough. But you don't need to dive into that in this forum.
To clarify to a particular degree, our project kicked off in April of 2023. We'll be wrapping up here shortly. I'm working closely with our billing and collections clerk, and we're going to put that together. That's our next kind of mission is once these are in the ground, I'd like to give them a year in place to review that data and to look at our total revenue generated or accurately calculated.
That's a good point. The Pasco commissioners, I don't know, do you guys have franchise utilities in Pasco County?
There are some, most of it's county. There are some FGA properties we bought with private utilities that we took over. There's still a few private ones that are out there. Not too many, though.
Because we're about to take over one that has extremely old infrastructure, and so these meter situation is probably exacerbated within those utility companies. So just food for thought. So thank you very much. Very insightful.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you. If you ever got to take over some utilities, I would encourage you to go direct, not through an FGUA. Just do it direct and be done with it. Otherwise, it takes you a while to go through it. You're incurring more debt as you're going along.
That's what we're doing.
But
Okay.
it's worth doing right up front. I know Hillsborough did it years ago with great success.
Yeah.
So question on your slide, you're saying that for an average of 5.5 MGD going into the wastewater treatment plant for flow, it says you're capable of treating 5 to 5.5 MGD of reclaimed a day. What happens with the difference if you don't get to the full 5? 5.5, I should say.
What we end up having is we have a kind of a storage system set up. So as we hit our flow rates and our wastewater treatment plant operators are able to control that. So as we reach our max for our reclaim, they have a tank set aside to where they can do an above ground storage. And as the flow rates drop throughout the evening, then they can increase it and pump.
Do you ever see any flow going over the top of those tanks?
No, sir.
Okay. You might want to take a closer look. I've heard citizens complain about it. We've also had complaints about with some of that water getting into the bayou. And I think you've got a report out there that shows some of that. So you're talking about wastewater treatment revamping the plant. We're a joint owner with you. And we had a recent conversation that we'd like to take a look at moving that plant somewhere else, away from the waterways and getting it out there. So I don't know why, or what level that conversation's really taken, but I think it's something that I wish you'd work with David Allen and get closer to that conversation, because our board said we wanted to go that way. And we think it's appropriate to move it. There's tremendous opportunities out there for federal monies that are out there. To move it once and be done with it, I think it would be good for everybody. Also, I see Matthew Blair out there. Had a good job today. Those guys might be able to help you, as we presented as well, to actually look at getting some funding for the septic to sewer. Anything coastal is a great opportunity to do so. And we'll even work with you if need be. We've said that publicly as well. So look forward to working on both those things.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, that we, it is conversation. It's on the table at this time. Just how we're going to go about it and when and funding and all that. Would agree with you totally.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, the timeline for construction and the reasoning for revamping of the wastewater treatment plant, or at least taking a look at some of our systems out there, is the assumed timeline for construction would be somewhere out in the 20 to 30 year range for a new wastewater treatment plant. So in the meanwhile, we have to ensure that the infrastructure we have in place is still operational.
Like I said, there's a lot of money out there between resiliency, et cetera, that they want to see those things inland. I know for the reclaimed water part, David was taking a look with our team too to try to get that where we can put piping in. That's a lot quicker, a lot cheaper to just get it out of there and get it to where we can use it. We've got plenty of customers out there for it. We're charging more money than ever. Frankly, I'm not comfortable with even the rates we're charging people, but we can move that water. We've got customers for it that are dying for it, and we have supply.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. We are going to move on to our last presentation, and that is the Capital Improvement Program construction update. And I believe Rick Menzies is here for that. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I will be providing a brief update on the construction activity within Tampa Bay Water. Since your last construction update in October, work has been completed on 3 projects with a cost of $18.2 million. A caustic treatment system was installed at the South Pasco Water Treatment Plant to control pH. The left photo shows the new caustic tanks being installed. At the Lake Bridge Water Treatment Plant, the chemical piping for the ammonia, bleach, and caustic systems were replaced. The center photo shows some of the new ammonia piping storage tanks, and chemical pump skids. The Brandon Booster Station itself is now construction complete and in operation. The photos on the right show the exterior and interior of the new pump station. Part of the booster station scope of work is a separate project replacing the well pump at Brandon Urban Dispersed Well Number 7. This work will be done when operationally feasible to take the well out of service to do the work. For projects actively under construction, we currently have 5 projects with a budgeted construction cost of $44.5 million. The map on the right shows the location of each of the 5 projects. The Cypress Ridge Wellfield Improvements Project replaces the pumps and motors at 10 well sites and replaces standby generators at 3 of the well sites. To date, work has been completed on 5 wells, and also 2 generators have been installed and permitted. The left photo shows new electrical equipment being installed in a well house. The center photo shows electric cables being connected to a new pump motor, and the right photo shows one of the new generators installed. Completion of work at all 10 well sites is scheduled for August. The High Service Pump Station Chemical Piping Replacement Project replaces the chemical piping, storage tanks, and feed pumps for injecting sodium hypochlorite and ammonia. Current work is installing underground pipe between the chemical buildings and the injection points. The left photo is chemical containment pipe to be installed. The middle photo is a trench excavation for a new chemical pipe run, and the right photo is new chemical pipe being installed. Work is scheduled for completion in November. The Tampa Bay Desalination Facility Intake Connection Improvements Phase 2 is a design-build project and is the second of 2 projects to provide a new seawater intake at Tampa Electric's Big Bend Power Plant. The project installs a new pump station and a 54-inch diameter above-ground pipeline. The left 2 photos show steel sheeting being installed for the pump cans. The sheeting will be installed in the shape of a rectangle, and the soil inside will be excavated to a depth of about 20 feet for the pump cans. The right 2 photos show construction of concrete pipe supports for the pipeline connecting the new pumps to the existing pump station. Completion is scheduled for September. The Eldridge Wild Wellfield Improvements Project replaces the well houses, pumps, and motors at 24 well sites. Work on the first 7 wells is just about complete. The contractor, which is a joint venture of 2 entities, has fallen behind schedule and has payment issues with subcontractors. Tampa Bay Water has made a demand on the surety to complete the project. Active work on the project is now on hold until the transition to a new completion contractor is worked out. The 2 photos show the exterior and interior of one of the new well houses. The insets in each photo show what the exterior and interior of the old well houses looked like before work started. A new completion date will be established once the completion contractor is on board. And the last project to update this morning is the Regional Reservoir Compressors Replacement Project, which replaces 3 compressors and adds a new 4th compressor. The compressors push air through pipelines in the bottom of the reservoir, releasing air bubbles that mix or drag water from the bottom to the top to keep the water turned over. The new compressors are scheduled to be delivered in June, and the contractor will mobilize in April to begin installing piping work in preparation for the new compressors. The photo shows the 3 existing beige-colored compressors to be replaced, and the 4th new compressor will be installed in the area marked in red. Completion is scheduled for December of this year. This concludes the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members? Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The compressors, were they just on schedule to be replaced? Or
Yes.
Any issues with them?
They've reached their useful life. This is a standard replacement, yes.
Thank you.
And these are just the smaller projects that we have going? I mean, this does not include the new water plant, the new expansion of our...
No, these are just projects that are under construction now.
Okay.
Those projects are still
under design still. I got you. Thank you.
All righty. Well, that concludes our regular agenda. Just a reminder that our next meeting is going to be April 15th at 9:30 a.m. That will include a budget workshop, and at this time, we will entertain a motion to receive and file.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Got that?
I do.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. And if there's no other business, we're adjourned. Did you,
Mr. Chair, I have one
Mr.
thing.
Westall? Yeah. Excuse me,
Sorry,
one moment.
I do have one thing.
Yeah, excuse me, one more item. Yes.
Mr. Carden,
Yes, sir.
are we in any way involved with the private main that busted in northeast Hillsborough? It dumped a bunch of wastewater into the Hillsborough River, and they said that they weren't able to capture any of it. Are we involved in that, or does Tampa Bay Water stay out of it? It's a local issue.
That's a local issue. We're not involved in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Nope, we are adjourned. Thank you.